I just saw Venom: The Last Dance, and I think this is the worst movie in the Venom trilogy. And I know these movies are never critically acclaimed, they don't get amazing reviews, especially from critics. The audience score is typically higher and all that, but I was expecting this to be, at least as good as the first Venom film, which a lot of people were saying, but I just did not find it that good. I thought the first act of the film was actually decent. I was like, okay, this could be like an average or above average film, but then the second act, oh boy. When Reese Fonz shows up with his family, it just takes a downward turn, man. They start singing Major Tom for like 2 or 3 minutes. Then it leads into the Vegas scene, and it was just like, what am I watching right now? Then I would say the third act was fun, but very messy, and it was really hard to see because there's symbiotes, there's aliens, there's a bunch of crazy stuff happening, but it's set at night, which was a big problem with the first Venom film. When Riot was fighting Venom, you could barely see what was going on, except in this movie, the stuff that's happening is happening faster, there's more, aliens and monsters on the screen at the same time, so it's super hard to focus on what the heck you're watching. But yeah, guys, this movie is just really, really messy. The plot is paper thin. Null is barely utilized in this movie. He shows up at the beginning, says some generic villain stuff, and then he pops up again near the end. Now, I know Null is going to be like the Thanos for the Sony Universe films, but, he just seemed very generic. Obviously very scary, very powerful, but that was pretty much it. He was underutilized in my opinion. There is also a lot of plot conveniences in this film. One specifically that I'm going to talk about is Venom having a codex, which Null is basically trying to get, and the way that they did it was just so dumb in my opinion, because this is the third Venom film. We want to see a lot of Venom, and we don't really get that in this film, because whenever Venom goes full Venom like this, that means the xenophage can find him, and I was just like, oh my gosh. So in the movie, they're just like, yeah, Venom can never fully transform, because then the xenophage is gonna go find Eddie and Venom, and I'm like, that is just kind of dumb. And then the xenophage couldn't see them when they're not full Venom, so they would run away while they're like this, and then he would go to Eddie, and then the xenophage would be like, oh, where'd he go? And I'm like, what the, dude, what are we doing here? The people want to see Venom, this is a road trip movie where Eddie and Venom are trying to get to New York, and they're doing it in a pretty fun way. I just thought restricting what they can do in this film by him not being able to be actual Venom was just a dumb creative decision. Now, for positives, I will say Tom Hardy did great as Eddie Brock again. He has nailed the role. This is his third time as him. There was a couple decent comedy moments, but not everything landed. The action was pretty exciting. The third act specifically goes full out. It was just crazy. It was almost like Marvel's Spider-Man 2. I actually really liked Chiwetel Ejiofor's character of Rex Strickland. I thought he was a pretty interesting character. They didn't go the route that I thought they were gonna go, the more comic accurate route, but I did enjoy his character. Same with Juno Temple. The side characters in this movie I actually liked, and Mulligan and all that. I was surprised to not see Anne or Dan. But overall, the new characters I did enjoy. Yes, they were a little bit shallow. They could have been fleshed out a lot more, but for the most part, they were enjoyable to watch. Then I would say the VFX were really well done, which is something we come to expect with the Venom films, especially this one, which had the largest budget out of the trilogy. There is a somewhat heartfelt moment towards the end of the film, but let me just talk about it. We've talked about a few spoilers already. So Venom sacrifices himself, but in the movie, they've teased, I think it was 3 or 4 times about Venom possibly surviving. They hinted towards that so many times that when he actually sacrificed himself, I was like, this guy ain't gonna stay dead. And then the second post-credit scene happened, and I was like, oh, so he's not dead. Even when Venom is dying, he's looking at Eddie and he's like, this is just goodbye for now. It's not a forever goodbye, so why would we expect him to just be gone forever? And I know Tom Hardy's been saying in interviews oh, I'm done as this character, no more Venom movies, but I feel like he's 100% going to be back, probably in Spider-Man 4 or a future Sony project with their characters going up against Null or something. But it is heavily implied and teased that Venom is going to survive some way, somehow. So guys, overall, I thought Venom: The Last Dance was extremely messy. The plot was just paper thin. It just was not very exciting. The action was cool, but you couldn't really see it in some scenes, and I just thought Null was just very generic. I like the bromance between Eddie and Venom, which we've come to love. You know, it's the third movie for a reason. These movies do perform relatively well at the box office, but this one just didn't connect with me. That second act just really put a bad taste in my mouth. And then the third act just goes absolutely crazy. It is somewhat entertaining, though. I think if you're a Venom fan or just like a Marvel fan or comic book fan, whatever, I definitely recommend to go see the movie in theaters, but, you know, it's just not very good. So with that being said, I'm going to give Venom: The Last Dance a 4 out of 10. I think it's just below average. I think this is on par with Let There Be Carnage, or it might be worse. I probably have to see it 1 or 2 more times to really solidify my opinion on it, but I just didn't really enjoy this film. Now, that's just my opinion on Venom 3. If you guys have seen the film, let me know down below in the comments what you thought about it, and what would you give it out of 10?